Let's talk about trauma. Did you know that an estimated 70% of adults in the United States alone have experienced a traumatic event at least once in their lives? And did you know that more than 13 million people have PTSD at any given time, and that's the number for the United States alone? And did you know that 1 out of 9 women will get PTSD at some point in their lives? And did you also know that women are about twice as likely compared to men to develop PTSD in the first place? Interesting. And did you know that 2/3 of the European population have also experienced at least one traumatic event during their lifetime? And did you know that 7.7 million people in Europe have also developed PTSD? And guess what? These numbers are pre-COVID numbers. So you can only assume that trauma was already a huge challenge, but is an even bigger challenge now. So what is trauma? So in any traumatic situation, the time seems to stop for you. So you are literally out of time. And often you cannot even breathe for a moment. So really the time seems to stop for you. So, and the trauma creates then a huge energetic potential at the quantum level. And this leads to a huge energetic blockage that sits then at the cellular level and at the DNA level in your body, mind, spirit system. So the energetic blockage is actually a soul fragment of you that holds this traumatic experience and the fearful reaction to it. And as I call it, these buttons are actually trauma trigger buttons, because if there is a situation that's similar to the traumatic one, this button gets pushed and simply unfolds the traumatic event from the past and its fearful reaction to it. And usually the next time the button is pushed, the fearful reaction will be even stronger than in the first time. And so that leads to a couple of symptoms we talk about in a moment. And this is what gets later on diagnosed as PTSD. So how do you know that you have unresolved trauma stored in your body, mind, spirit system? If you experience any of these symptoms of PTSD, symptom number 1, you are procrastinating a lot and you are often in a state of avoidance. Symptom number 2, you're afraid of being judged and you're afraid of what others say or think about you. Symptom number 3, you suffer from severe fear, anxiety, and or depression. Symptom number 4, you tend to emotional outbursts and mood swings. Symptom number 5, you often feel offended by things other people say or do. And symptom number 6, you're unable to form stable and close relationships. Symptom number 7, you suffer from trauma, flashbacks, and nightmares, and therefore from a lack of sleep. And symptom number 8, you're consuming drugs, medications, or you're overeating. Symptom number 9, you have thoughts and beliefs of shame, guilt, and also self-blame. And symptom number 10, you have a hard time to concentrate and to focus, and you might also experience memory issues. And symptom number 11, you feel overly sensitive and overly empathic. Trauma changes the way how your brain functions, because the balance between your amygdala and your medial prefrontal cortex is no longer working properly. So usually the amygdala serves as a kind of smoke detector and the medial prefrontal cortex as a watchtower. So as an example, the amygdala would say, hey, you have an alert, your house is on fire. But then the watchtower would say, we have smoke in the kitchen because somebody burned the dinner, but the house itself is not on fire. So that would be the usual and the normal balance. So if you were traumatized, this balance is no longer working because the amygdala is hypersensitive and creates a lot more alerts, even if there is really no real danger. And the prefrontal cortex, this watchtower part, can no longer put things into perspective because it's no longer working properly or even shut down completely as a result of the trauma. So that means if you're traumatized, your amygdala creates survival alerts, even if there is no real danger. And that creates for you then a lot of PTSD symptoms, such as panic attacks, emotional outbursts, hyperarousal, severe fear and anxiety, and many more symptoms. Now the question is how to get rid of your unresolved trauma. Well, let me explain you this. It cannot be talked away. Trauma cannot be talked away. So even trauma science recognizes this. And let me just quote Bessel van der Kolk, one of the most famous trauma scientists, in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, where he says it is critical for trauma treatment to engage the entire organism, body, mind, and brain. So trauma is not a mental symptom to cope with. That is only treating the symptoms. I'm up here for helping you to clear your past trauma, because if you only learn how to cope with it and the trauma trigger buttons still sit in your entire body, mind, spirit system, you don't feel differently. And if you don't feel differently, you don't act differently, and you don't change your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. And this is why you remain where you currently are. This is why we have these symptoms of procrastination, of self-sabotage, and of being in a state of avoidance. Why is this so? It is because these trauma trigger buttons, I explained to you earlier, they sit as an energetic blockage at a cellular and DNA level. And you cannot talk away such an energetic blockage, right? It has to be cleared at the quantum level, and that means it's going to be transmuted into nothing, into no thing. So, and that's the only way to clear your past trauma. And then you automatically increase your energy frequency. And if you increase your energy frequency, then you're going to feel differently, then you're going to think differently, and then you can attract different situations, people, places, times, and events in your life. I have been there. I had at least 9 out of the 11 trauma symptoms I mentioned earlier. So it started early on when I was born, because my mother was drugged during the birthing process, and that meant I was drugged too. And I just didn't went consciously through my birthing process. And decades later, I discovered that whenever I took myself out of the equation when times were really tough, it was because of that, because I didn't learn how to consciously go through a tough time, to take these opportunities. So that was a big one. And then when I was just a few months old, while I was sleeping, my baby crib broke down and I fell on the floor. So that was a huge trauma for me, so for my parents as well. But I simply lost my basic trust right there. And decades later, when I was asked to attend a group event and there was a trust fall included, this past trauma came up and I couldn't do the trust fall for hours at all. So this is how things happened. And I added more trauma, accidents, toxic relationships, and more, until I found a system how to finally clear all of this and to be ready to actually live my soul mission. So I learned how to energetically clear these trauma trigger buttons at the quantum level, which means that you really remove the button that held the old trauma and its fearful reaction from your body, mind, spirit system. So this is how to clear trauma, how to remove these trauma trigger buttons permanently. And that changed my life forever for the better. So I'm now living where I always wanted to live. I do the things that I love to do, and I finally focus on my soul mission to do the things I came here to do. And you can do that as well. How? Let me show you. I'm a licensed and certified trauma clearing master healer and teacher. So I am working with clients all over the world, helping them to clear their trauma trigger buttons with impressive results, such as, for example, Valdemar, who suffered from severe flashbacks and nightmares for years and could only sleep for about 2 hours a night. And his last trauma therapist told him that there was nothing left that could be done for him. He got rid of his flashbacks in the first few sessions of my trauma clearing program. My ultimate trauma clearing program is the doorway to closing past painful experiences and stepping into your divinity to follow your life's mission. And this is what it does for you. So the program will clear your past traumas at the quantum level. It will increase your energy frequency significantly, and that allows you to attract different people, different situations, different places and things in your life. It will also allow you to live from an open heart without fear, because fear is at the core of each trauma, and we're clearing this as well as we clear the trauma trigger buttons at the quantum level. It will also help you to annihilate procrastination, as this is the fear of taking action because of past trauma. And it will also clear past traumatic issues like limitation and money issues. And it will allow you to focus on what you desire to do, to create, to achieve in your life. And all of this is even more important as we are living in very turbulent times, and really be without trauma is very important, because if not, you will always stay where you currently are. And in these turbulent times, we have to be very flexible. We have to listen to our soul's intuition and take action. Yeah, it's really important in these times that we are ready and that we are equipped to take action fast. And that means you have to clear your past trauma. Because living in a state of avoidance and living in constant fear of taking action won't get you anywhere and will not allow you to live the life you desire for yourself. My question for you is this: what is it costing you every single day to keep your past traumas? Think about this question in all areas of your life, financially and non-financially. Are you now ready to get rid of your past traumas, to close these past painful chapters that are holding you back every single day? Are you ready to get back into self-love and self-responsibility? Are you ready to live your soul's mission and to achieve your desired outcomes? If the answer is a yes, and if you say, yes, I want to be trauma-free in 8 weeks, send me a message on any of the channels that you can see here on the video, and we will talk very soon, and we get started with your ultimate trauma clearing program. If you want to get trauma-free in 8 weeks, speak to you soon.